Hypnotic phenomena. These are the observable traits that we often associate with hypnosis. Maybe this is where I'll introduce an idea related to stage hypnosis. Now, stage hypnosis is entirely different than clinical hypnosis. I want to stress that. The experience of those who are participating in a stage hypnosis show may be like or may not be like those who experience clinical hypnosis. In fact, the least important thing in a stage hypnosis show is whether or not they were actually hypnotized. The most important thing is that everybody have fun, and it, to some extent, is a giant game of Simon Says. And we talked a little bit earlier about state and non-state hypnosis ideas. Well, really, the main idea behind stage hypnosis is a social compliance model of hypnosis. I want to please the hypnotist and do what they ask to do. But nonetheless, what the hypnotist who's doing a stage hypnosis show is purporting to do is to create hypnotic phenomena and demonstrate that for the audience. So, for example, one of the phenomena that can be demonstrated in hypnosis is the idea of hypnotic amnesia. By the way, the opposite of that, hypnotic recall, is an idea related to hypnosis as well. But these are phenomena that people observe are enhanced or can be experienced in the hypnotic state. So, for example, in a stage hypnosis show, a person might be suggested that they forget their name. Now, it would be absurd to forget something as common as your name, and yet people in a stage hypnosis show do that. So what a stage hypnotist is doing is actually demonstrating hypnotic phenomena because it's fascinating and interesting and in many cases funny. But a clinical hypnotist is using hypnotic phenomena so that we can access resource states, trance utilization that benefits the client. So when we talk about hypnotic amnesia, forgetting your name probably wouldn't be very useful in clinical hypnosis at all now, would it? But we could use hypnotic amnesia as a tool in the learning process to forget things that were learned inaccurately or wrong or in a way that wasn't consistent with success. So I do a lot of sports performance hypnosis. And people might have learned a process or a procedure for engaging in sports, and they've now committed this not to the conscious mind, but the subconscious mind as they perform their sport. But what they really need to do is relearn a new technique or a new strategy. And hypnotic amnesia may be one of the ways that we can literally scramble the previous experience so that we can build a new learning process and result in a higher level of peak or sports performance. So let me share with you hypnotic phenomena. These are things that we can and we do elicit during clinical hypnosis and what some of their benefits are and how we might use this in clinical hypnosis. Now, this is by no means an exhaustive list, but these are things that are commonly associated with hypnotic phenomena. The first is hypnotic dreaming or hypnotic daydreaming. Now, this is really important because as a trance induction strategy, we recognize that daydreaming is one of those naturally occurring phenomena that we can really harness the power of to help remove a person from their immediate experience and into a more internal construct where they're able to become fully absorbed in a hypnotic procedure. Now, there are some other tools that can be useful in hypnosis related to hypnotic phenomena. Hypnotic writing. Now, I don't know if you were a kid, if you ever played that Milton Bradley game, the Ouija board. I know that my mother really freaked out because it was, playing with the occult. I'll leave those debates to parents. But what we know is that the Ouija board worked because of ideomotor movements. In other words, very minuscule or minute movements in the hand. And so what the Ouija board participant was doing was really answering the questions with the conscious mind, but subconsciously moving to the various places on the board. I don't really see it as anything more than a game, but some people want to ascribe much more to it. But the idea of ideomotor movements, automatic writing and drawing is really an interesting idea. And there is, back to the originating days of our modern understanding of hypnosis, the idea of the pendulum. And again, sometimes people want to attach mystical or even occult meanings to those things. I'm not going to. What I'm going to do instead is talk about ideomotor movements. And Milton Erickson used ideomotor movements as a way of really assessing, is a person going into trance? A person could be taught by Erickson to express themselves and answer questions in therapy using ideomotor movements. Now, anesthesia and analgesia are important concepts as well. The idea behind analgesia is really that of aspirin. It's of decreasing or mitigating pain. And anesthesia is the idea of bringing a person to a point where even a surgical procedure could be performed. And there are lots of records of deep levels of trance going down to the deepest levels of the trance state to be able to block pain and awareness so that hypnotic anesthesia could be used. James Braid, the person who coined the term hypnosis, was a Scottish physician in India who in the 1850s wrote about how he used hypnosis as a method of hypnotic amnesia in performing surgery. Time distortion is another phenomenon. One of the things that I love to do at the end of any hypnosis session is ask my clients, how long did that feel? And if I do a 25 or 30 or 35 minute hypnosis session with my client, 95% of my clients say, I don't know, it felt like it was 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It was usually triple or quadruple that. This is called time distortion, where something feels very brief even though it may have taken a very long period of time. Now, there's also time distortion the other way, and that would be where something occurs, very, very quickly. And what's amazing is that in our minds, we can actually go through, let's talk about fear for a minute. I work with clients who have phobias and fears, maybe something that they're specifically trying to overcome. They can actually recall an experience where they became phobic. For me, I used to be afraid to fly. And the reason why is I was on I say it was less severe than a crash and more severe than an emergency landing. I'm going to call it a flop. Everybody walked away, we were all lucky. But after that, I was terrified to fly, and I didn't fly for a number of years. And a hypnotist worked with me to help me put those experiences into perspective. And it's amazing how what literally was a flight that took 45 minutes and was a very terrifying flight, I could relive in my own mind in the safety of a hypnosis session from getting on the plane, taking the entire flight, and then when the plane landed and we were all safe, literally in a fraction of a second within the mind. And so time distortion can become a therapeutic technique that can be utilized as well. Now, dissociation is something that, for some reason in psychology, we often think is bad. I think we associate this with dissociative identity disorder or, dissociating, not paying attention. But dissociation, being able to remove ourselves to a different perceptual position, is a particularly useful hypnotic strategy with PTSD. It's a particularly useful hypnotic strategy for those who have issues related to compulsive eating and when I'm working with obese clients. Again, hypnotic amnesia, which I mentioned before, the capacity of our mind to forget something can be used in the learning process. And something as even remarkable as hallucination. Hypnotic hallucination, either a positive hallucination, seeing something that isn't there, or a negative hallucination, not seeing something that is there, can be utilized in trance work. Now, this is a great example, though, positive and negative hallucination. It seems so remarkable not to see something that really is right in front of you. That would be a negative hypnotic hallucination. I'm not seeing this book, which is directly in front of me. It seems so remarkable, it seems amazing, which is why in a stage hypnosis show, there's a lot of drama in the show when the hypnotist makes himself invisible or demonstrates it in another creative way like that. But we need to recognize that even though it is dramatic in a stage hypnosis show or seems powerful in a clinical session, in real life this happens to us all the time. Have you ever had this experience? Here are my glasses. I cannot find my glasses. I have looked everywhere. And you say to a friend or a coworker or a spouse, can you help me find my glasses? And they come up and they're like, oh, they're right there on that piece of paper. Wow, silly me. That's not seeing something that's right in front of you. It happens in the refrigerator all the time. Honey, I can't find the ketchup. There's no ketchup in here. No, yes, there is. I just bought ketchup. Well, I've looked everywhere. I don't see the ketchup. I've looked everywhere. Come over here and help me find it. And I walk right to the center of the shelves in the refrigerator and point directly to that ketchup bottle. Silly me. I didn't see what was directly in front of me. So we can see that even things that appear to be magnificent, powerful hypnotic phenomena actually occur in everyday life apart from the hypnosis experience. Age regression is another thing that's important. Now, this is different than past life regression or any of those sort of metaphysical approaches that we're not going to be discussing and are not the focus of this course. There are religious or mystical uses of hypnosis. You are allowed to believe anything you want to and take this course from a religious perspective. This is not a religious hypnosis course, so we're not going to be addressing that subject of, life beyond lives or future lives or past lives or anything like that. Age regression, though, is about eliciting psychological phenomena where a person can actually go back in time, almost as if it's a psychological time traveler, and re-experience or re-evaluate events, experiences that happened to them. For example, I used age regression in one of the first videos in this course. I said, close your eyes and go back to when you were 6 years of age. Now, you probably were not in that exercise viewing yourself as the adult you watching the kid you looking at that, wallpaper. You probably mentally actually regressed. You were that 6-year-old kid looking at your wallpaper. And that's really fascinating psychological phenomena that can be utilized in therapy. Future progression or future pacing is another strategy or technique that we're going to utilize throughout this course as well, and something I find real helpful in post-hypnotic suggestion. Now, you'll hear the word hypnotic catalepsy. This refers to muscle rigidity that can occur during trance states or during hypnosis. And it can be a useful strategy as well. I will often have a person create a stiff and rigid arm. This is muscular catalepsy. So stiff and so rigid as if it's being held by powerful bridge cables and has a steel bar running from the shoulders to the hand. Try to pull it down and you cannot pull it down. And boy, that's amazing. They literally try to pull it down, but they can't. This can be used in all kinds of ways therapeutically, as a proof, as a metaphor, as a way of releasing that which they are holding on to. Arm levitation was popularized by Milton Erickson in the 1950s. A person responding physically, their arm would literally levitate or rise in the air based on the suggestion that the arm was feeling lighter, the imagery that it was being lifted by a red balloon, and that it would become light and lift higher and higher. And when you see hand levitation or reverse levitation, it can seem again remarkable. Wow, does the person really feel like their hand is being lifted by a balloon? Well, the answer to that is yes. But again, we can elicit this in hypnosis, but these type of experiences happen to us each and every day with or without a hypnotist, where we use our creative mind, like arm levitation, to create an experience we have in life, such as when we're watching a movie or a TV show. And the hypnotic phenomena of post-hypnotic suggestion is about the ability to take the suggestions that are given in today's session, internalize them into the subconscious mind, and then take action on them tomorrow, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, or a decade from now. Post-hypnotic suggestion is really at the heart of successful clinical hypnosis. When a smoker comes into my office, I'm going to be giving them post-hypnotic suggestions, specific tasks and things to do. If they have a craving or fear quitting smoking or find themselves in something that either at a conscious or subconscious level is a association with the old behavior, and I give them post-hypnotic suggestions, specific actions to take that are different than what they've done before. And my clients who come to me in my office that see me for smoking cessation, about 80% of them never smoke again. And the reason why is because they've taken action on what I've taught them in hypnosis and delivered as a post-hypnotic suggestion. So again, in this brief lecture, chances are you've got more questions than you have answers to yet. That's probably going to continue throughout the course for a while. And then you're going to notice that all these concepts really come together, that it all begins to really make sense, that the piece on post-hypnotic suggestion is related to the idea of contextual hypnotherapy, which is related to the experience of the lemon drop and is perhaps related to our understanding of state versus non-state hypnosis. And that's really the beautiful thing about this course, that questions cause us to become more interested and to delve deeper so that we can find solutions for our clients and for ourselves. We're going to come back and revisit all of these hypnotic phenomena in more detail with applications as I later on in this course do some demonstrations with clients.